All right, so Andy Staples put together a list of the first year coaches and what kind of program they are taking over. So he listed Sherrone Moore as keeping it rolling, which basically he describes that as just do what was happening before. He rated Kirk Cignetti. Man, you guys have got to hate this. Some Indiana love, all right? As don't assume a win if they're on your schedule, saying Indiana could surprise you. They're normally a guaranteed win, but with the new coach and what they brought into the transfer portal, you can't expect it to be a win. And then his last one was ripped down to the studs, but need to find some studs. And he put Washington, Michigan State, and UCLA, Jedd Fisch, Jonathan Smith, and Deshaun Foster in there. Chris, we'll start with you. Do you agree with this? Do you think it should be rearranged? Do you think Washington should move up? Do you think Indiana should move down? What are your thoughts here?
You know what? Washington, I think, definitely needs to go up. You look, and we talked about this a little bit, just a little bit ago, actually, JR, and that is, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Washington. Jedd Fisch has done a lot with that transfer portal, and he's brought in some good talent. And especially, you look at Will Rogers at quarterback, I think that he's very underrated coming off the injury season last year. But go back to what he was in that air raid offense a few years back. He can move the ball around. He's very smart. He moves the ball around well. Um, I think that Washington's going to do better than what most people think. Cignetti, I'm not sold on the concept of the Power Five All Star team. I think that it takes a
Group of
lot.
five, you mean?
What's
Yeah,
that? Group of five. Yes,
group of
thank you.
five.
Group
Yeah.
of five All Star
Okay.
team. I think it takes a lot to be able to play in the Big Ten. Um, the Big Ten and the SEC are different animals than every other conference in college football. There is a level of physicality. The game runs at a different speed than what you have in the other conferences, and specifically in the group of five. I think you're going to see a lot of overwhelmed young men in Indiana. Do I think that Cignetti can be a good coach eventually? Probably. I think he's a solid coach. I think he can probably get Indiana to a decent team eventually. This just isn't the year for it. Sherrone Moore, keeping it rolling is going to be hard to do when you lost your 5 offensive starters on the line, when you lost nearly every coach of consequence in your room. And honestly, when you're going to be questionable, if, like you just said, JR, if you're not trying to win 9-6 ball games, you got a quarterback that can't throw. This is a team that's in a lot more trouble than what people think, especially if they get an injury to a Grant, a Will Johnson. Um, this is a team that could be in a lot of trouble. So I think having them up there at the top is a risk. I think all 5 of these guys should be concerned to some level, but I'm not. I mean, defensively, obviously, Sherrone Moore is probably in the best shape. Offensively, I'm firmly believing that Jedd Fisch is in the best shape in Washington. As for UCLA, man, they're in trouble.
I think they're
They're
pretty
in
You
a
know
screwed.
that
lot of trouble.
they play in Los Angeles. Did you know that?
That's
With
what I hear.
USC. And they're excited. I also heard they're excited.
They're going to have fun.
About 5 times.
They're going to have fun, aren't they, JR?
They
Well,
are,
Looking at the
yes.
Big
They're going
Ten.
to have.
you saw that live, right, Jr.?
Yeah, dude, I was there, man.
How awkward was
I
that?
literally, like, the media, we were all just, like, looking around at each other, like, what is this guy doing? Like, I made eye contact with probably, like, 4 or 5 different media people, and we were all like, what's going on?
You know
Yeah,
what?
that was
John Hawk
painful
has
to watch.
a comment there, JR, that I think is actually probably very relevant to this. Indiana may
We
have the best coach,
Just Google
You
it.
arguably,
think Kirk Cignetti is the best coach
of that group.
of those
No,
5?
no.
Jedd Fisch would make an argument.
I think Jedd Fisch is better.
Yeah, Jedd Fisch or Cignetti, but ultimately Indiana is still Indiana. I think that's the part that I wanted to get to.
I don't know, because it is hard, because Kirk Cignetti has done a lot with very
But
little.
again, he's done it at a level that's not where he's at right now.
Right. I mean, obviously. But I think that's what John is saying is like, but it's still IU.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very interesting to think about. I'll go and then I'll let you go here, Eric. I think Michigan keeping it rolling. I think that's placed well just because they do have some top tier talent on the defensive end. I think, unfortunately for them, they just don't have the talent on the offensive end to keep it rolling. So, that should be his goal to keep it rolling. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't think they're going to be a top 5 team in college football. They might make the playoffs. We'll see. If you're going to put Kirk Cignetti up at don't assume a win if they're on your schedule, I think you have to do that with Jedd Fisch and Washington as well, as you pointed out, Chris, what they were able to do with the transfer portal. And then I think Jonathan Smith has an argument to be up there. I'm not going to say he should for sure be up there, but I think he has an argument for it. As I said, UCLA, Andy, well done. Eric, your thoughts?
Jonathan Smith will be coaching in the state of Michigan longer than that guy wearing the piss and navy at the top of that list.
I
Number
agree.
one. Cignetti is, I like him because he's a villain, and Indiana needs to be a villain. When you come in and you
Yeah,
poke,
they need some life in that program.
and so I get, when I was talking to the Hoosier Huddle guys, they're like, "Hey man, why not shoot your shot? You're
Well,
never gonna make it if you don't shoot it, so you might as well come in guns a blazing." And I'm like, "Okay, I get it. He's firing up the fan base. Well, I mean, if you're gonna do it, you might as you might as well try. At least he's trying something." I'm with you, Chris. I don't think a Group of 5 All-Star team is going to be very successful in the Big Ten. However, Indiana wasn't very successful in the Big Ten. Hasn't been for a long, long time. So you might as well come in and try something different. But I don't think he needs to be on the don't assume a win if they're on your schedule list. That belongs to Washington. That is a very proud program coming off a national championship L, and they've got a coach who was very successful at Arizona, who has a very good program, knows what he's doing. You know, are they a 10-win team? No. But don't assume you're just going to beat them. So that's kind of where I feel they need to be. And I think if you had asked me my opinion, who on that list I would hire tomorrow if I had to choose one of these 5 guys at Ohio State, he's currently residing in East Lansing.
Jonathan Smith. Philip said Jonathan Smith managed to make Oregon State a good team. And yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things with him being hired at Michigan State. And that's what they need. They need somebody that's reliable, that can take a team, take a program that's in a bad spot and turn them into something. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think they're going to turn into something this year. I think they have the possibility to. When I did my picks for the OHIO podcast, I put them at 8-4 because I have some wishful thinking.
Yeah. I was like, whoo.
But it'd be pretty boring if I just went chalk with everything, right?
Right.
I have to have something exciting up there. I'm like Kirk Cignetti. I'm here to be an
Yeah.
entertainer, But I think John here is completely right. If Cignetti is successful, he'll be snatched up out of here in a hurry. The only thing I have with that, the man is 63 years old. So
Correct.
if he has success, does he really want to move on and try to rebuild somewhere else? Or does he just want to ride off into the sunset, retire in 5
Where's
years,
he
and say, I
originally
built
from?
Indiana up?
Where's he originally from? Is it Virginia?
I thought it was Virginia. Let me check.
Because I
so.
could see him going back to Virginia, like if Virginia Tech or Virginia comes knocking, or one of the
Pittsburgh.
Pitt.
James Franklin gets fired?
Penn State.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the one nice thing about Cignetti, though, guys, it was like he tried to take a little bit of Jim Tressel.
A little bit.
A little bit of Jim Tressel, and then put a Bobby Knight spin on it.
Yeah.
I really feel that's what he went out there and
He
did.
did.
And I'll tell you, I think it endeared him to the Indiana fans. It endeared him.
All
to
he needed to
faithful.
do was throw a chair after he was done with that. Just
Yeah.
pick up a random chair and throw it on the court, and he would have been a legend.
Yeah, exactly.
He wouldn't have
been
had
awesome.
to win a game in Indiana. They would have been like, he's legend.
My my in-laws were at that game. They have season tickets to
Indiana.
whatever it's called, Indiana basketball, and they said that when he came out, everybody was kind of like, "Oh, the football coach," because that's what you normally think. Like, "Oh, the football coach is here. Like, get the football coach off the basketball court." And then all of a sudden, he said, "Purdue sucks," and so does Ohio State and Michigan. And they just said the entire arena was like, "We think you're stupid, but yeah."
He's a great villain, man. I got to
He
give him
is.
credit.
Hey, he's an entertainer. Philip says Cignetti seems to be convincing Indiana fans they're going to win 6 to 8 games. Hey, I will say, I think it's possible that Indiana wins 6 or 7 games this season. I don't know about 8. 8 seems like too many, but I think it's very possible.
Did you Google?
Yes,
Cignetti?
I did Google Cignetti.
But
I have his
one of them
wiki
be over
right
Michigan,
here. He
and I'll
was
be happy.
quarterback. He was quarterback at West Virginia, and then he was a GA at Pittsburgh. He coached under Nick Saban. He was a wide receiver coach and an RC. I don't know what RC is.
Running game coordinator.
Running
Oh
game
yeah,
coordinator.
maybe. Why would you be a running game coordinator as a wide receiver coach? And then IUPUI, Elon, James Madison, Indiana now. So, yes, I did Google Cignetti.
I don't know. I mean, Pitt might be looking for a new coach soon, so go back to Pitt.
But like, is he really going to leave a Big Ten job for a Big 12 or an ACC job? I mean, the ACC is about to crumble. I could see Big 12 maybe because they're going to add all the ACC teams, but I don't know.
I don't know. It's just interesting. I think Penn State's very interesting. Think about it. That's a possibility.
I think Penn State's a possibility too. All right, Chris, any final thoughts on these before we move on to our final?
No.